Hello and welcome to Season 10, Episode 119 of the Cartridge Club's Game of the Month podcast, where we bring together members of the Cartridge Club community to discuss our monthly playthrough. If you're new to the club or are interested in participating in future months, please join our community Discord or follow us on Twitter at Cartridge Club NA. We love to see the hashtag Cartridge Club used whenever you talk about one of the games we've selected. I'm Captain Algebra, and on behalf of our rotating pool of hosts, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Additionally, on behalf of the entire Cartridge Club community, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon Club backers: Joel Boyce, Buried on Mars, Christopher Rohr, Ross Ringo, Caleb J. Ross, and Dean Lasagna. Thank you all so much. You're such an integral part of why we can do this each and every month. This month, we played two classics on the NES, Contra and Super C. So joining me to talk about the games this month are J-Chip Show.
Hello.
Owazrim.
Hello.
8-Bit Glitch 79.
What's going on, guys?
And Megadan 29.
What's up, guys?
So glad you guys could join. We got a good mixture of Contra pros and Contra rookies, so it should be a very good discussion. And we're just going to start talking about our experience with the Contra series. You know, what was your first Contra game? When did you play it? And what other games in the series have you played?
I played Contra 1 to begin with, the very first one. And, man, we played it when we were really, really little. So I used to play co-op with my brother all the time. So, I mean, I know there's been speculation over what age I was. I talked about this in a video. So I was playing it from anywhere from like 6 years old up, 5 years old up. So I've been playing Contra a long time. Always loved it.
Yeah, I started with the very first one. We used to visit my aunt and uncle who lived in an apartment kind of complex, several buildings, and I made friends with the neighbor kids, and we'd always hang out when we go over there, and they had an NES with the copy Contra, and me and him would play all the time, co-op, and we weren't very good, of course, but we loved it. Being 80s kids, the Arnold and the Stallone kind of vibe going on, you know, so we would always be playing war and stuff, so Contra was right up our alley. And I distinctly remember the one time we got really far. I think we made it to the snow level, and we were super psyched. I was like, oh, my God, we never made it this far. This is amazing. And this is before code and everything. Like, you know, this is just straight out of the gate. No cheating or anything. Mm-hmm. And I was just super psyched. Then all of a sudden, his sister started yelling, the never-ending stories on HBO right now. And he, like, shut the NES off and ran to the living room. And I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, damn.
Oh, my God. And I'm like, what the hell is a never-ending story? Because I haven't even heard of that like at that time. So I begrudgingly went and watched the movie. And I have to say, Never-Ending Story is fantastic. But I was so mad that he shut the NES off when we had done so well. But that was one distinctive moment.
Are you sure you don't harbor some like hatred towards that movie after that?
Right?
No resentment.
Every time I see it or like any reference of it, that always pops in my head, and it's always a memory. So we're kind of tied together.
Real quick, did you guys ever associate Contra with Arnold and Stallone?
Yeah.
When we were
day one. Oh, day one.
Yeah, we definitely thought of Rambo back then, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that parallel. I guess for me, like, I'm pretty younger than you guys, so my first memory of Contra was AVGN did this video talking about his Contra memories, and he talked about how he beat it as a kid before he got onto the school bus, and that really piqued my interest because it looked like a really fun game. But it wasn't really until I started hanging out with you guys, and I think it was either Cap or Megadan that was pushing me to play it. Mm-hmm. And eventually I did a couple of years ago, and here I am.
My memories for it, I know I watched other people stream and play it some, but like I never hung out and watched somebody do a playthrough or anything. So my experience was severely limited. Now I played the first one, and is Super C the second one or the third?
Second one.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Owazrim, so you didn't even know about it when you were a kid?
No. And if I did, I forgot about it. I mean,
Gotcha.
We didn't have an NES. We had a Commodore 64 growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had a couple friends who had an NES, and the only game I remember seeing someone play on the NES as a kid, and I'm guessing it had to be Dragon Warrior because it was a green slime on the screen, and that's what I remember. And that was after we went over there for a Boy Scout activity, and for whatever reason the kids were on there playing, and I just remember the green slime.
Very cool.
That's it.
Nice. Yeah, well, I was fortunate to grow up with it. I have an older brother who's 8 years older than I am. And so the NES was his. So all the NES games we had were his. And he was smart enough to buy Contra and Super C. So I've been playing both of those games probably since I was 4 or 5 years old. I have no recollection of beating it back then, other than like when I would do Game Genie, because we had a Game Genie, and I always liked trying out the different codes.
Oh yeah.
And for one of the games, there was a code where you could like keep your weapon after dying. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to lose the spread. Yeah. And so, I'd put that code in and I never lost the spread. So like, I know I beat it with that back in the day, but I really have no recollection of when I actually beat it.
Gotcha.
As for the series, I mean, it quickly became one of my favorite series. So I got to play Contra and Super C growing up. Then the next Contra game I actually had was Legacy of War on PS1. Yeah. So unfortunately, I went from those games to that, which as a kid I was like, yeah, this is awesome. It's like 3D Contra. And then you look back on it, you're like, ooh, this kind of sucks.
Yeah. That's one that's harsh to go back to.
Yeah. So I need to go back to it again because I haven't played it and beaten it since then.
Take your time.
That's right. But once I got into collecting and stuff, I mean, I've gone back. I've played Hardcore. I played Alien Wars. I played Operation C on the Game Boy. I played Alien Wars on the Game Boy Advance. I think there's one on that. Was that on Game Boy? Yeah, I can't remember. There's like multiple Alien Wars versions.
Contra Advance.
Yeah.
Contra Advance, yeah.
Yeah.
The Alien Wars is on the Game Boy. Yeah. There's a Game Boy one.
Okay.
And then there's a Contra Advance.
Really good, too.
Yeah. So I think I've only played the Game Boy one. I don't think I played the GBA one yet. I don't think I own it. But I played Neo Contra, Shattered Soldier.
Yeah. Which are fantastic.
Yep. Fantastic. And then I just picked up at Mo Game Con the Contra Adventure on PS1.
There you go, J-Chip.
So I mean, it's got to be better than Legacy of War, maybe.
Yeah, it is. It is, but that's not saying much, bro.
Right. Yeah, that's not a very high bar.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You know what's crazy? Not to cut you off real quick, but I never played Alien Wars when I was a kid. So that was something that when I came to the retro community back in like 2012, 2011, I actually tried it. That was my first time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what about the rest of you? What else have you guys played in the series other than Contra and Super C?
I dabbled with Shattered Soldier, but this gets a pain in the ass. Eventually, I'll get around to it. But I did beat Neo Contra when you were streaming it.
Neo's amazing, man.
Neo Contra is probably my favorite Contra game, just because of how unique it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I like hearing you say that too, J-Chip, because that game gets like very little. I'm not gonna say love, but it's just like a lot of people don't know about it. Right. They don't really talk about it. And if once you try it, Neo Contra is good, man. Yeah. But I going into where I've played Operation C. I had it when I was a kid. I grew up with Contra Hardcore, which is why when I came to YouTube, people were like, "Oh my God, you beat it quick." Well, I grew up with it, so I'd gotten very far in it. And then I had Super C and Contra, but obviously anybody that knows me knows that Contra is one of my favorite franchises now. So I've played most of them. I'm not all of them yet, but most of them. Also, I like getting the Famicom ones because if you've ever played the first one on Famicom, it actually has cutscenes in it.
Yeah, and I love how like the leaves.
Got it.
Yeah, I love how like the leaves are moving in the background.
Yeah,
it's like why didn't we get that on the NES?
Yep, Snowfield is actually snowing.
That was Nintendo's limitation with the Western.
Yeah,
they wouldn't allow the Western releases to have the extra chips and stuff like that. They only allowed that in their country, so that was the whole reasoning behind that.
And Owazrim, you've only played the 2, correct?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So man, it's gonna be an awesome journey to watch.
I say you got a lot more to play, Owazrim. Get to streaming them.
Wait till he plays Alien Wars, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Megadan. I played I actually didn't know Super C existed as a kid. I only knew Contra, and I didn't know Super C was a thing until later. And then I didn't get a Super Nintendo. I got a Genesis first, so I played Hardcore, and didn't even know Contra 3 was a thing until I got a Super Nintendo after the fact. Right. And then I played that one, and then I played Operation C on the Game Boy as a kid, and then I didn't play anything until maybe a few years ago when I got back into the retro gaming stuff, and then started playing like the PlayStation 2 ones. And yeah, Neo was awesome.
Did anybody play Contra Force when they were a kid?
No.
Didn't know it existed.
Me either.
Still don't.
Yeah.
There you go. Owazrim learned about a new game.
Yeah, and to be
I've
honest
been
with
here
you,
looking stuff up as you guys are talking about it.
yeah, and to be honest with you guys, Contra Force, it's really not that bad.
Mhm.
I don't know if Captain, you haven't played it yet, have you?
No, I keep forgetting to look for it at conventions.
Yeah,
but
brother,
I want to
you
grab
gotta
it.
borrow mine or something, dude. You
Mhm.
gotta try it.
Yeah.
Have you played it, Sean?
I have it. I've played. I haven't beaten it.
It's
yet,
a little rough,
but it
a
is.
little rough.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you get into it, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't that supposed to be a different game, and they just decided
Yes.
to slap the
Mhm.
Contra logo
Yeah.
on it?
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, when you follow Contra and Super C and you slap that Contra name on
Yeah.
it, you got high expectations.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that game doesn't reach them. You know?
No.
I mean,
I'm not gonna name games.
You guys
but-
were around. So I'm gonna, what was Contra
Latest
like?
Contra. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
Contra like the equivalent of like Call of Duty back in the day, where like kids were just talking about it nonstop?
You know, that's a really tough question. I
yeah.
had
Good
to talk
question.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to talk about this on my channel, and what I needed was remember how I told you I was so young playing it,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't get to feel that.
Right.
Nobody was talking about that at school and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I was too little, so I asked older people that, and people like Andrew Meter and stuff told me it was definitely a game being talked about
Mhm.
with kids. Definitely, top 5, top 10 game on the NES for sure. But Captain, I don't know if you ever heard anything when you were a kid. You're younger than me.
I
dude.
say, yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
a year or two younger than you, so it's like
Yeah,
we didn't really talk about video games at school back, at
Exactly.
that,
yeah.
But I'm sure if I talked to my brother, who's 8 years older than me, I'm sure it was talked about. I mean,
Yep.
it's probably definitely different than Call of Duty, since Call of Duty has a different iteration like every single year, and
Right.
there's
I
no
mean,
improvements on it.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
like in terms of like popularity of like
I
a pure
understand
game.
what you're
Right.
saying. And this is why I asked the question. Like, I think what you're trying to say, J Chip, is like where people where they're grown men at work that were maybe like, hey man, you want to come over to my house, have a couple beers, let's play this Contra game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly in my video
Right.
what I was talking about. I wanted to hear those stories, and I got some good stories out of it for sure.
Yeah. I think my school, people didn't talk a lot about video games. I think it was almost like a dork geek thing.
Mhm.
And if they did, they didn't talk about it, but they did it in secret. Like
Sure.
I knew a lot of people who played Nintendo, but they wouldn't talk about it in school.
Right.
Yet.
It's like the
They wanna
Dungeons
talk
and
about-
Dragons crew.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they wanted to
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
sports and just play sports when they're in school and that.
Yeah.
like, yeah. So, but
Yeah.
if video games were talked, it was mostly Mario stuff
Mhm.
Sure.
and stuff. So yeah.
At least until the 16-bit generation. 16-bit, I think, I remember talking about stuff for 16-bit, but I
Mhm.
don't remember anything with 8-bit. But again, I didn't have an NES, so
Sure.
I wasn't cool or too that geeky, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah, I think like the first thing I remember talking about in school was like PS1 N64 era.
Yep.
Because I remember talking about Metal Gear Solid because I borrowed it from a friend, and I got to that part where I had to contact Meryl, and I'm like, how do I contact her? It says
Yeah.
it's on the CD case,
Yep.
and I'm looking like in my inventory. I'm like, do I have a CD in here? Like, and I go back to school the next day, and he's like, no, it's actually on the case of the game. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, we would argue of PlayStation versus N64 and stuff, but before that, I was too young, I think, to be focused on video games at school.
Sure, and a
Yeah.
big thing back then also to me in my school was like wrestling games.
Mhm.
Those were really
Mm.
big too because we were all into wrestling.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's go ahead and actually get into the first game we're going to talk about today, which is the original Contra on the NES. So I'm going to read straight from the manual the story that is in there. So it starts out with the strong survive. In 1957, a large object from outer space crashed into Earth's Amazon basin near ruins of the lost Mayan civilization. Scientists worldwide heralded the incident as a trivial cosmic occurrence, and thus the collision was soon forgotten. Now, 30 years later, rumors of an evil force have swept into the Pentagon's front office, and tales from frightened villagers of a hideous being with an army of alien henchmen are sending chills down the spines of top military brass. Unwilling to upset current political stability, an all-out assault on the region has been overruled, and instead, two of America's most cunning, courageous, and ruthless soldiers from the Special Forces Elite Commando Squad have been selected to seek out and destroy these alien intruders. Congratulations, pal. You're one of the chosen. But before you take pride in being the best, be warned. You're about to come face to face against Red Falcon, the cruelest life form in the galaxy. He arrived on Earth 30 years ago. That's 6 months' time in an alien's life. To establish a foothold from which he will attempt to conquer our world and then use it as a stepping stone toward his ultimate fiendish goal, domination of the entire universe. Needless to say, playing hero won't be easy, but you have no choice. You must be a hero, because if you fail, life as we know it will cease to exist, and the vile Red Falcon will rule forever. If you succeed, well, it doesn't matter, because I doubt you will. All right, so how many of you have ever read that story of Contra?
I have not read that. That was actually my first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and now I know who Red Falcon is.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm sure we had the manual growing up, but I never read it.
Right.
And I don't have a complete box copy now, so I don't have the manual. Like I grabbed that from the internet.
That's awesome.
So I do love the little humor in there. About like doubting you will succeed and 6 months in an alien's life. Like, why does it matter?
That's very specific,
right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, the gameplay is your classic run and gun, right? When you think run and gun games, you think Contra, right? This is pretty much kind of the game that started it out, right? Yeah. And so you just run around, you shoot enemies, you collect power-ups, and you try to get through the levels and destroy the enemies and move on. So we're going to start by talking about the weapons. So in this game, the things that you could pick up are the machine gun, the laser, the fireball, a rapid fire, which made every weapon be able to fire faster. You got the spread. You have a force field, which is invincibility, and then the mass destruction, which destroyed everything on screen. And I'm sure I'm going to know the answer to everybody right now. But what is your favorite weapon in Contra?
Laser.
Spread.
Just kidding.
Laser. Yes. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
No, I was hoping we would all say spread at the same time.
Yeah.
Count of three.
Does anybody say this? It's so true, though. Spread is really a shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of is, yeah.
Well, I wonder, like, people growing up who didn't have the manuals and they just saw the S, right? Did they call it the shotgun?
I think I don't know. That's a good question.
We always called it the spread. I think
we called it spray gun.
Okay. Spray gun.
We called it the spread. I remember T-Bell used to call it the spreader.
Yep. Yep.
Well, the spreader makes them deader.
Yeah,
there you go.
You know, a lot of people don't know in this game either. Like, I notice it when I see a lot of people playing this game, especially over the years, was what they don't know that the R is used with everything. People avoid it.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I was like, I don't need to worry about it. And I think Cap came in and was like, oh, that's rapid fire.
Yeah, get that with your spread. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you get that and you don't know what it does, you aren't going to really notice much of a difference.
Doesn't seem like anything else shoots faster. So I thought it was just it affected that one after Cap told me what it did.
I honestly think that we thought the game was broken because when we would get that as a kid, we were like, nothing happened. Nothing happens when you get that. What's going on? Like,
So like I had no idea. I thought it was like a rifle or something. So I remember going through it and accidentally getting it and being like, shit, lost my spread.
Yeah, you thought.
Then I use it and I'm like, wait, what happened? What's happening now?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense though.
Yeah. So obviously, like everyone likes a spreader. Oh, now I sound like T-Belly.
Yeah.
So what is an underrated weapon that maybe when you don't have the spread, what would be another weapon you like to use?
Machine gun.
Yeah, I'd go machine gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give you a chance to rest your thumb from
Yeah.
hammer the button. You can just
and while you're dodging, you know, you can just sit there and hold it down.
Right.
And you're just dodging and it keeps going, right? So
you're spraying and praying.
Yeah,
Right.
I would say that.
Yeah. And I love the machine gun too, but to be a little different, I kind of like the fireball in that game.
I was gonna say otherwise the fireball.
It's slow and it's not great, but it's nice that it kind of circles, so like it gives you a pretty good range.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy using the fireball.
And to be honest, when you get that with rapid, it's pretty good, man. Yeah, it's not a bad gun at all.
Yeah.
I like how the laser is really powerful. I mean, that thing is about, but you can't rapid fire with it.
Right.
That's what. If they could just make it like a real laser where it's like a line that goes across the screen, that would be great.
You know what they should have done with the laser? Just thinking of it right now, they should have made that a charge shot.
Mm-hmm.
where maybe if
yeah.
you charged it, it went through everything or something.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would
Yeah.
be pretty
like
cool.
a rail cannon.
Didn't it go through everything anyways?
No, it stops once it hits. Well, it goes through people, but if it hits
Yeah.
a boss or something, it'll just hit the boss. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
But I get
sense.
what you're saying.
Yeah, I just remember like as a kid, like I would accidentally grab the laser when I had like a
No!
spread, and I'm
Yeah.
like pressing as hard as I can. I'm like, what the hell? It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Got to realize, no, you got to be slow with that one.
Yep.
But it is powerful.
Yep.
So the game, I want to talk about some more of the mechanics. So this game is considered pretty difficult, right, by a lot of people out there. But I think one thing that helps with it is, and Dan, you and I have talked about this before, the control is so good with this game, right? I mean,
Yes.
you can get yourself out of pretty much any situation,
Yeah.
right? If you know how
That's
to
what's fun
dodge and
about
move
it.
and stuff.
Yep.
What do you guys think about like the difficulty of this game?
I do think Owazrim is going to be and J Chip are going to be the best to listen to. I feel like on this one because you've authentically just played it. So like we were kind of talking about sometimes in the past here is it's hard to remember, right? It's hard to remember that. So nowadays it seems not so bad. It's pretty easy, right? But I don't think it was always that way. But the controls are as simple as they are. They're so perfect. You know, your jump is perfect. You're shooting the where you can shoot diagonally. You know, other games don't get it done. And it seems like we always end up saying, why doesn't this just play like Contra? You know, how many times you guys have been playing NES games and you say that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's what makes it like so fun and a good challenge too, because you're never blaming the controls. You're never doing that. And if you are, no offense, you're just being kind of like, you know, you're kind of throwing a tantrum or whatever we want to call ourselves, you know?
I was
Which
not
we can all
throwing
get
a
angry.
tantrum.
Yeah.
But the first time I played it, first time I tried to play it, I was playing it on an emulator called 3D Sen, and actually it made it 3D.
Oh wow!
But I was playing with a wired 360 controller and using the D-pad. So
okay,
there was times I was holding down and I went too far over one way or the other, so he pops up.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna mention
that's
that.
when I was
Depends
blaming
on
the controller because I was. It's still my fault. I was, still going a little bit too far one way or the other, and trying to stay down and shoot, and all of a sudden,
Sure.
If you got a janky D-pad or using a controller that's a great D-pad, you get that like I'm trying to lay down, but you end up standing up and doing the shooting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, stop!
What's your guys' comfortability with this game? Do you like classic controller or dog bone or NES Advantage? What do you like?
The only controller I've ever used for NES is just the regular controller, so
Okay.
never had a dog bone, so
Okay.
I just use the regular one.
I like the dog
And I
bone.
played on the NES Mini, and I was like, I am not a fan of the NES controller.
Wow. Okay.
So I used the Super Nintendo controller from
Gotcha.
the Super NES Mini.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's the better controller compared to an NES controller.
Yeah.
Ever since I love the original controller. You know, the dog bone's great. I love the original just because it's what I've been using most of my life. But I've been using lately since I got older. This is a Joy-Con or Joy Card Sensui controller.
Oh yeah. That's Eugene used to use
I've
that a
seen
lot.
that.
This thing is amazing because it's a little thicker. So now that I'm older, it fits in the hand better.
Yeah.
And it's got an awesome D-pad. You
Mm-hmm.
never have any slip.
I got to
up with
get
this
one of
thing.
those.
Yeah,
This
I've
thing
heard
is
great things
amazing.
about that controller.
And it looks like a Famicom, which is cool. But
Yeah.
it's got the turbo if you need the turbo. And
If
all
you
that.
want to cheat, yeah, no.
Going back to the difficulty, I would describe Contra and most NES games as they're easy to play, but they're hard to master. So, like for me, for example, I can solve a Rubik's Cube pretty easily, but I know if I hand this to someone who doesn't know what to do, it's going to be a difficult thing to do. So,
Right.
I mean, just like with anything, it takes time. I think the hardest NES game personally that I've ever played was Castlevania 3.
It's very
It's a tough one.
That is,
Going back to Contra, you can shoot diagonally, but like with Castlevania, you're only shooting what's in front of you. And it's like, man, I wish I can go in all directions like in Super Castlevania 4, but like with Contra, like, the controls are just like they're perfect for this style of game.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Someone in my chat when I was doing it, because I was doing it, I was streaming it and doing it, walk me through, and so I was open to any and all suggestions. Someone in chat, once they told me, is like, jump is always the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I knew that, I was like, all right, it doesn't matter if I pound it. It doesn't matter if I just barely touch it.
Yep.
It's going to be the same amount.
Sure.
So, it made it a little bit easier to figure out, try to jump and zigzag and dodge and miss bullets coming my way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I would say it's hard, but it's not unnecessarily hard, or like there didn't seem to be a ton of cheap deaths.
Right.
And the cheap deaths usually resulted from me not killing enough stuff on the screen in time.
Sure.
So it fills up with bullets. But to me, it was like the difficulty would ramp up, and once you started to figure out patterns and stuff, then it would come down.
Yeah, there's so many times when NES games or games in general, retro games in general, that are like unfairly hard. They love to make things super cheap unless you know exactly what to do. And I feel like Contra, not everything spawns in the same spot every time, but the controls make it to where it's so fun to play it over and over and over again, because it's always a little bit different, and it's always fun to when you get through those 2 bullets and you're sitting there shooting at a boss or something. And I always think of it like a big game of dodgeball or something, and it's just so fun to dodge everything. That's why I love Contra so much.
So it's really funny you mentioned dodging. So I used to work with a lady who loved playing the NES. They had like a retro Pi, and they would play every time. She's like, "Oh, I love Contra," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to stream it." And so I talked to her the next day at school. She goes, "I never thought about jumping." Like, she never thought about dodging stuff. She would just take hits. And I'm like, "You didn't think about jumping?" And it's like,
that might be an issue,
right? She thought that game was so hard. I'm like, just try to dodge. It's like, I just had to share that.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
One question for Jacob and Owazrim, since you guys played this more recently, how long, if you can remember, do you think it took you from like starting to play it to actually beating it for the first time? How long do you think that took?
I would say being generous or more lenient. I guess I would say 10, 12 hours maybe.
10, 12 hours. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same about that.
Okay.
If we're using the code, it would probably be like 6 hours.
Yeah, if you were using the code, I mean, you could beat it in one sitting. And I mean, I use save states because I was playing on the NES Mini, and I got where I could like just zip through the first 4 levels, and I didn't have the time to put in 20 hours, which it probably would have taken me that long at least to get through if I hadn't been, or if I just use the code.
And Owazrim and J-Chip, when you guys first played it, like, when did it really pick up in difficulty? What level did you say, "Holy cow"?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't used to like the vertical stages where you're going up. I don't know. I just, for me personally, I just wasn't a fan of that style, and I just wanted to keep on going with the side scrolling. So for me, just going up the levels was kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So as early as level 2, or are you talking about level 4?
I think level 3.
Level 3, right? The water.
Because you got to go up.
Yeah, level 3.
Oh, you're talking about climbing the waterfall.
That makes sense because it's totally different from what you're used to.
Yeah, and that's what I think I got caught on 3 several times. And then once I got decent at it and I could actually make it through there without getting hit, and I had the spread, then 3 became easy. And then actually Cap told me on the base levels where you have to run forward that you can shoot the barrels or whatever those things that are rolling at you.
Yeah.
I was jumping over them all the time.
It's really hard to jump over those.
Yep.
Yeah.
I died a ton. And once that, I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And again, on the waterfall stage, speaking to what J-Chip said, you know what you were saying earlier about every jump is always the same. That can get you in so much trouble on waterfall, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're jumping too high and you're jumping into a bullet. And you're going, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's like half ledges that are between where you would jump and still not high enough to get onto the top one.
Yeah.
And also there'll be times where you're jumping too high to where it's like if you fall down, you're gonna die. And it's like, you know.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. Right. So the reason I asked you guys about like time, because I always see people like they'll want to use Game Genie or they'll use save states or they'll want to use the Konami code because they're like, oh, I don't have time to learn the game, but then they'll go and put 150, 200 hours into stuff like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's like you can learn Contra in 10 to 12 hours.
Good
Like
point.
anyone can,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So what's different about putting 100 some hours into Zelda, but don't want to put 10 hours into a Contra game?
I think the quick answer for that is, what are you enjoying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I haven't played Breath of the Wild, but I mean, open world game, you know, that's a totally different beast from a run and gun Contra.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I think the appeal to something like a Breath of the Wild versus a Contra is that like Breath of the Wild has so much more creativity, where
Mhm.
like in Contra you only got one main objective, and that's get to the end of the level.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you're saying like that repeating makes it almost get kind of boring if you weren't
Yeah,
using those
Mhm.
things to
boring
progress.
or frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're just not making the progress, or
Mm-hmm.
like you get good at the early levels and then you can't make it through, and so you're spending
Right.
30 minutes get back to where you were, and
Mhm.
then you know
Right.
you're sitting there cycling
Yeah.
that, so you spent 2 hours and you didn't make it any further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think what helps for me in going back to the controls are so good,
Mhm.
because if I'm playing a game like Contra, but the controls, I'm not having fun with it,
Yeah.
and I keep dying and stuff, I'll give up. I'll just be like, this ain't worth my time. I
Right.
got other things I can play that I enjoy playing. This isn't worth.
Mm-hmm.
But with
Sure.
a game like Contra, it's like you're saying, it's not the game that's screwing you over. It's
Mhm.
you.
Sure.
And it's like,
Right.
I could do this. I know I could do this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get
I
into
know what
that
to do.
mode.
Why can't I just do it?
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's when I get like that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, I could do this.
Right.
Where,
And
but if it's a game that's like screwing me over,
Yeah.
and I know
Yeah.
it's screwing me over because of controls or some other thing,
Mhm.
and I'm just not having fun.
Yeah.
It's like
Sure.
I just give up, because I'm just like, I don't want to waste my time. I
Right.
got so many other great games to play.
For
you
sure.
know?
Oh,
Hey,
nothing
So
wrong with that.
that's what frustrates me.
Hey,
Yeah.
Big Glitch, shout out to Ghosts and Goblins. That's a game I would say.
Hey,
is,
don't make me
horrible.
time you out. Okay. I'm the
listen.
host here, J-Chip. I can still time
Listen.
you out. Where's the mute button? So I wonder also if it's like an understanding thing. Like Owazrim mentioned, like not knowing to shoot those things that roll at you in the base ones, you know, or not
Yeah.
knowing that the jump is the same no matter how hard you press the button, you know. Whereas some of us, we've played it for so long, we just know it, right? And I think in today's day and age, we have information overload, right? Or we can get any information we want immediately, right? We don't have to grind through everything. And so I enjoy the grind of going through a game and working at it. I mean, I just streamed Fester's Quest for 6.5 hours
That was
and
awesome.
beat
by
it.
the
You
way.
know, it's like, because I enjoy that grind. Sure, it
Mhm.
sucked to be sent back. I got to the, final boss and I
Yeah.
got sent all the way back to the beginning, and I had to work my way back, which took
Yeah.
40 minutes. But I didn't want to have to start all the way over the next time I
Yeah.
played it, you know? Whereas
Yeah.
like Contra, I mean, when you die, the game's not that long. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you're going to get back to where you were pretty quickly.
It's like a 20-minute game, 30-minute
Mhm.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. I definitely see what you're saying there, though. Like I get that frustration. I guess like speaking to what Sean said, that's like more how I am. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can do this, and now it's become like a challenge within yourself. Like I'm
Mhm.
going to beat the computer. But Sean, I totally understand what you're saying about there's games that's like, why am I even doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Yeah.
like me and Captain, we definitely have channels where we'll put ourselves through that stuff, even
Mhm.
if it's kind of bad. We'll try to finish it.
Yep.
And sometimes, yes, you're correct though. It does. It sucks. You're literally
Mhm.
like, I want to just be done with this. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
for a game like I'm just gonna say Contra, like, you know, playing it and you finally beat that boss, and you get that
Yeah.
Yeah.
take that kind of thing.
Right. It feels so damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a game where you're just not having fun and you finally beat that boss, I'll be like, whatever.
Just let me be done.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, what?
One step closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the last
Yeah.
boss, please?
Yeah, like, I'm done with this thing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
With
No,
the
you're
boss
correct.
though from
about that, for
Contra,
sure.
I was like, is that really the last boss?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we
waiting
talk
for
about
something else, like, oh,
levels,
nope, I guess that's the end.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get that. So I mentioned the Konami code. And
Yeah.
so I just want to ask, I want people to be honest. Have you ever used the Konami code for Contra?
Oh yeah.
Yes. When I was a kid, I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, my
Like I
brother
said,
certainly did.
like, you know, the snow level was the farthest we've gotten. I had the whole
Mhm.
tragic story and stuff. But then when we found out through, I have to say it's a Nintendo Power or something.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember going over there again another day, and he's like, "Oh, check this out." and it was like,
Right.
oh my god, 30 guys, and then we obviously beat it right then.
Guys, how do you suppose we heard about it?
My brother told me. He's the one who knew
Same.
it. So I don't know if he heard it from school or like was Nintendo Power out at that point?
I could look. I'm not sure.
I didn't know about it until Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo when my brother got a Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Konami code started in Gradius.
Yeah.
So maybe people knew it from there. So like, I don't know. So people who don't know the Konami code, right? It's up, down, left, right, BA start. But as a kid, I always thought it was select start because my brother and I would play together. And that's how you get 2 players. And like I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, I know the Konami code. It's select start. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's just for co-op.
I think in Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo, it kills you. If you do select start. Because every once in a while, like, I don't remember what it is, and would do the enter it wrong and be like, do.
Right.
Like,
oh, dang.
So here's, I don't know, I Googled, so whether this is true or not, take it for what it is. This is the point of gaming history where the Konami code's popularity skyrocketed as Nintendo Power magazine decided to reveal its existence in Contra in the classified information section of their very first issue in July of 1998.
That's what
awesome.
happened. Okay. Fair enough.
So it was right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, here you go, guys.
They dropped a bomb. They dropped a bomb on the gaming community.
They're like, boom, this is what this magazine's all about, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Subscriptions just went.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go into the stages then. So I'm going to list all 8 stages of Contra. So we got stage 1 is the jungle. Stage 2 is base 1. Stage 3 is the waterfall, which we kind of already mentioned already. Stage 4 was base 2. Stage 5 was the snowfield. Stage 6 was the energy zone. Stage 7 was the hangar zone. And then finally, last stage was the aliens lair. So I kind of want to ask you guys, what are your favorite and least favorite stages?
Well, I'll go real quick since I put my notes on the cheat sheet. So my favorite stage is the aliens lair because I just love the look of that. And when we got to that the first time, we're like, what is this? Because it looks the most unearthly looking kind of stage. You know what I mean?
You know that I'm getting somewhere in this game.
Yeah, this is getting serious. And then, of course, when you get to the red head, I don't know, you want to describe it, but I thought that was it. I'm like, we're there. And then we killed it, and it's just like, oh, it's going? It's still going? That wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
so I spent probably 5 or 10 minutes at that wall sitting there killing the yellow thing. So I was like, what am I supposed to do? And I was standing there at the wall,
right,
moving around, killing them. And then I was like, okay, let me jump up over here and then shoot the head.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like an idiot. But.
And then my least favorite is the snowfield for a couple of reasons. One, my horrible story. My great accomplishment being ripped from under me there. But also, it's just the difficulty of seeing the bullets drove me nuts growing up. So I always found it hard to see the bullets for some reason. I don't know if it's my color blindness or what, but I could never see the small bullets coming through the snow. And so it would always get me all the time back in the day. So that's kind of the reason I put that one on there as my least favorite.
So you like to play the Famicom version then, because then there's more stuff on that level.
Yeah.
Right.
It's even more frustrating and distracting.
I guess I don't have a favorite level, but if I had to kind of choose, other than like what Sean's saying about the last level, for sure, that's the coolest looking one. That has awesome music. I mean, you fight the 2 bosses. I really like Harrier. The what's the one before last one? What's the name of it? The bunker or the Harrier?
Hangar.
The hangar.
I'm sorry. Drawing a blank here. That's probably my favorite just because how the walls come up and they're spiked.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of really trap spots in that level if you get stuck on the bottom with the claws. And then how you have to ride the little wagons. Right. And you can ride, you can go on them and shoot. There's a lot of different things going on in that level. So I guess that's kind of a fun level to play, but I don't really truly have a favorite level. The hardest level, I think, is Snowfield. That one, I think, is just always the one where, like Sean was saying, you cannot see a lot of bullets and things like that. In my opinion, that's where the the difficulty of Contra really goes
Yeah.
up.
Mhm,
Like, all right,
for
you're
sure.
gonna try to beat this game. All right, here we go, man.
That
You know?
that's the NDR level killer, right?
Yes.
When I was
Yes,
trying my
absolutely.
NDR run, that's where
Mhm.
I was resetting the most. God
Yep.
darn it! Like,
That's my take on it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how you guys would rank this, but for me personally, I think the jungle level is like very iconic.
Oh, for
When,
sure.
when you
yeah.
talk about like first
Sure.
levels in NES
Oh,
games, I
Mhm.
think the jungle is up there for like a great first impression.
yeah,
Mhm.
How many people thought when you fell off the bridge that was exploding that you were gonna die?
Oh, yep, for sure.
But
Yeah.
you just fall in the water.
Yeah, you make it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The first, I think 4 or 5 times I was trying to go through the level, I couldn't make the jump, and so I
Yeah.
kept going in
Sure.
the water.
Yep.
Dude, I still get nervous in trying to make those jumps. I feel like I'm going to fall in every time. It's just you got to have
Eventually, I
good
just got to
timing.
the point where I was just like, screw it, I'm just going to go in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the easiest path. Is go in the water
Yeah.
and you can
It
do
really
a lot
is.
of stuff.
hmm
And like, yeah.
Right. But then it's harder to get the first spread.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
gotta sacrifice that. Yeah.
I mean, you just have to like be patient, like wait to shoot it.
Yeah.
You know, you can still get it, but
Correct.
it's a lot tougher. Owazrim, do you have like a favorite or least favorite?
I think kind of funny because I really like the snow level,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and so it'd be between the snow level and the jungle level. But the snow one was just the layout I thought was interesting,
Mhm.
and all of the grenades being thrown at you.
Yeah.
Until you learned, okay, this one's exploding here, this one's exploding here, so
Sure.
if I have to stop.
Mhm.
I have to stop here. I can duck.
Yep.
I can take out one of the guns or whatever.
For
Mhm.
sure.
It was difficult, but for me, it was enjoyable.
Mhm.
But then my least favorite was the hangar.
Yeah.
And then that boss at the end of there, just like I remember somebody saying, just spam it. And I was like, I thought I was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I found out, run up. It's like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
that's kind of a lame
Come
boss.
on.
Yeah.
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 Just
I-
use it.
I think it's cool that you mentioned though, like Snowfield's a hard level, but it's still one of your favorites.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes about
Yes.
how good of a game Contra is, right? The toughest level can still be your favorite because it's
Yep.
just a good game,
It's a good
Yeah.
point.
you know?
Yeah.
I will say this: thank God, unlike other NES games, they didn't make you slip and slide.
Oh,
the
yeah.
ice and stuff.
Oh, can you imagine ice
Yeah.
physics in Contra?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That would have been awful.
that might have
That
ruined the
would've
game.
Everybody's least level then.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that was the
man.
first level too that let you know that they're like badasses too, because they still got
Mhm.
their shirts off.
Yeah.
It's all snowing. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't need a shirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
The jacket, it does nothing.
Right.
So I guess I didn't really bring up like my least favorite level,
Yeah.
but it was probably like base 2, whichever one was like the Transformers boss.
Base too. Yep.
Yeah.
I just found that boss to be super lame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's not the greatest.
Yeah.
For me, I find avoiding the bubbles than trying to shoot them works
Mhm.
better for me. Just jump
Yeah.
when they get close to jump
Oh.
over.
Yep.
Yep.
And yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For my favorite stage, I'd probably go with Waterfall. I just like the verticality, right? It's different, right? You're jumping up instead of going left and right. And it's just kind of cool how like there's enemies hiding in the waterfalls and stuff. Like I just always thought that was pretty cool. Least favorite would also be the hangar because as a kid, I would always miss the jump towards the end and I'd end up on the bottom with those claws. And there's like that last
That's
claw that is super random. And I felt
Yeah.
like I just had to like get lucky to get through it. Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'd have the spread and then I lost it and like, fuck,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
not a fan
no,
of that game.
And
that
you know
level.
what's cool about Waterfall, going back to that too, is how the boss just appears at the end of the darkness.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
the coolest looking boss.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would.
I'll
What would
get
you
the
guys
game.
real quick? What's
Right.
the hardest boss? And I'll quickly answer mine. What J Chip said, Base 2's boss, I think, is always the one that gave everybody the most issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
It's a tough
the
one.
bubbles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Gotta
That's
look.
that's
I gotta-
definitely my favorite is the waterfall boss.
Mhm.
He's the most iconic. When I think Contra, it's the first thing, and like when I do search images, it's like that's like that screen. Other than this, the intro jungle screen
Yeah.
is the most iconic like Contras. Not even the end with the heart. It's
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
third level boss.
I like
Right.
I like fighting the guy from Energy Zone. the guy,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
Transformer guy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think he's cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Those discs.
The
He just seemed
armored
really
giant.
random. Like what? Like I still don't understand when he's going to throw the spiky thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not. And so you're sitting there trying. Okay, do I need to jump? Do I need to shoot him?
Yeah.
Do I need what do I need to do? Is he going to show? Is he going to throw one? Is he going to show?
Sometimes he just
zero?
jumps up.
Or
Yeah.
yeah. And is he going to throw 3 or none? And so
Right.
I was like,
Me and my brother used to call him a football player when we got to him. We were kids.
Yeah.
A football player.
Yeah.
sort of.
I think I have to go. The waterfall boss, the Shadow Beast, is definitely my favorite. Like he just kind of appears.
He's
He
awesome.
he definitely looks like an alien from the movies, and it's a super awesome one. The rest of the bosses I don't feel like look as cool.
Yeah.
That armored giant from stage 6 is super cool, but I think I like the Shadow Beast from Waterfalls the most.
Base
I've
2's
been-
boss is unbelievable looking. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Transformer. Autobots roll out.
Yeah.
See, I didn't like the stage 3 boss because when I until I got there with the spread and then I could actually figure out where I needed to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
tricky for sure.
just he was really frustrated because I got stuck on that level, and then I'd get to him and he was just like just about like smacking me down, just boom, boom, boom. I'm like,
Yeah.
where am I supposed to shoot? What am I supposed to do? And then I get there with the spread. It's like, brrr, oh, I can shoot that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I can shoot them both. Oh, now I can just.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and now that's where I have to hit him.
Well, I think before we move on to our overall thoughts, there's one more thing we have to talk about with Contra, and that is the music. I mean, I think between Contra and Super C are some of the best soundtracks on the NES. And so there's 8 stages. What is your favorite stage music from Contra?
Area clear.
Yeah,
That
for
does
real.
feel pretty
Yeah.
good, right?
I would say the level 8, the
Mhm.
alien layer. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Mine just the jungle, the very first one. Like to me, that's like iconic Contra.
Right.
It's the first
Mhm.
thing you hear, like other than obviously the title screen.
Yep.
But it's like I kind of made a note about like if Bloody Tears is Castlevania, then Jungle Stage is Contra. Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
to me that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the hangar theme. I don't know. I just thought that sounded the coolest.
And I'd have to go with Snowfield. I don't know what it is. I tend to really like music from like snowy and icy levels. Like Super G&G, the ice level's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, I think it's something with the music combined with like the snow and the ice. It's just really cool. Let's get to our overall thoughts on Contra. So I got 3 questions that you all need to answer. So first one, would you play this game again?
Every chance I get.
Yeah.
Every chance I get, man. There's not a week that goes by I don't pop on the play
Oh, wow.
choice and play it.
Yeah.
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
mean-
mean, I'd definitely play it, and like I now playing through them, I understand why it's held in such high regard
Mm-hmm.
because it's a solid game.
So Owazrim, you after playing it, you do think, wow, this is a really good game.
Yeah,
Okay.
I totally think it's a good game. I understand why people say it's hard, but I think
Mhm.
it's not really that hard. It's
True.
just It's just learning the patterns, learning where guys might spawn.
Yeah.
Well,
And
J
so
Chip made a
just
great
defend it.
point about his way of describing the difficulty, and that's most games. It's just a matter of learning it and spending time with it. That's really what it is. You know?
I probably will play it again just because I think shooting the enemies is just fun. Like compared to like this game, like a Contra is.
I'm going to remove you right now, J Chip. You're lucky this isn't a stream of mine.
Was that one of the good man games?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Contra just it is difficult, but like with the controls, like it's just so much fun. So it's like, sure, it's frustrating to die, but at least you're still having a fun time.
Right.
Sure.
And obviously, like I grew up with it, so I do play it from time to time. I do not throw it in as often as I play Super C. I don't know why. I've always liked that game more. But I mean, it's definitely, I feel like I play Contra at least once a year. You know, if I'm ever not sure what game I want to play, like that's an easy game to throw in, run through it in 20 minutes and feel like I accomplished something.
Sure.
Yeah.
So second question, I want you to rate this game on a scale of 1 to 5. And unlike our friend Curtis, who also hosts the Cartridge Club podcast, I do allow halves. Okay. So don't feel like you have to give just a regular score. You can do halves. So 1 to 5, what would you rate this game?
10.
You must be doing that newfangled math.
Yeah. So
this
5.
This is one of my favorite games ever, if not my favorite game ever. So 5, because it's just, I mean, what can you say bad about it?
Right.
There's really nothing, in my opinion.
I would say 4.5.
Yeah.
Can I ask why?
It feels like if you lose spread, you're kind of hosed, unless you're close to another spot where you can get, spread or the machine gun. With the machine gun, it's a good fallback weapon. To me, the flame and the other weapons just they stink. They're not
hard to use.
I didn't
Fair.
like them.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I mean, it's like I said, it's a solid game. It's that's like the biggest complaint I have for it, and that's the same with shooters. That like you die, and now you're slower than everything else, and you're gonna die more. At least Contra doesn't do that. Contra, you just got your basic pew pew, and there's a chance that if you can make it far enough, you can get something else.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's really the only complaint. And so I would go higher than 4.5. I could go 4.75, but I don't think I could do just a solid 5.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 5. It's a very solid game. My only complaints is the snow level, because you can barely see the bullets coming after you.
Right.
And I don't know how you guys feel, but there's some bosses in the game that I just feel are kind of super underwhelming. Like the one boss
That's true.
just like a door.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's
like,
true. That's a fair criticism for sure.
Once you learn where you need to stand, once you learn where to stand for a lot of the bosses, it's just like
Yeah.
Sure. And I watched a speed run just before we started, and I was like, I never thought to just run straight up to the front door on the first guy at the top, take out the guns, then drop down and hit it. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And to defend Contra a little bit, you know, most NES games or games in general, most are like that. There's a way to cheese the stuff. There's usually something cheap you can do or stand in a certain spot. But the criticism of some bosses are sort of boring, kind of underwhelming. I get that. I get that for sure.
Yeah, they definitely make the level more difficult to me than the bosses.
Oh, absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
challenge is the level, not the boss. Once you find the boss's pattern, for the most part,
absolutely
stand here and just spam.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to give it a 5. I think Megaday and I've talked about this before. Contra's a perfect game in my opinion. Like you can nitpick little things, but there's nothing like glaring about it. Right. It's not unfair. Right. You can learn it. The levels are interesting and fun. It keeps you on your toes. They're not like empty levels that are boring. Right. You got a bunch of different weapons you can use. Controls are great.
Yeah. 5 out of 5.
it doesn't really have a weakness unless you really want to nitpick at it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that's the case with every game, right? There's no.
I was just about to say you could pick anything out of it,
Yeah.
and there's no perfect,
right?
No.
Right. So to me, it is as close to perfect as you can get. And so even though it's not my favorite in the series,
Sure.
it is a great game.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the last question: where does this rank compared to other Contra games for you?
It's probably it's probably my favorite one.
Yep.
It's my favorite.
Same here.
Yeah.
Number one for me. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say I enjoyed Contra more than Super C.
Okay.
So it's 1 out of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Super C. I've always said this. Super C is probably the better game. Okay.
Mhm.
It did everything Contra did and did a little bit better, but for some reason, I like the first one. I don't know what that is.
I enjoyed the flow of Contra better
Okay. Mm-hmm.
than Super C. And I don't even know like what to just like it was this thing or this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just as I enjoyed the playthrough of Contra better than I did for Super C. And I don't know. I can't point like I said, I can't point to any specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the overall Contra seemed to flow better, which doesn't really make sense. I don't know.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
So like I've only played 4 Contra games and beat 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Shattered Shoulder, in my opinion, is my least favorite one. Then it would be Contra, then Super C, then Neo Contra.
Okay, nice. This is tough. I love it, but I feel like as I've gotten older and I've played more Contra games in the series, I feel like it keeps getting knocked down further and further. So I would probably put it at 5th. I think it's my 5th favorite Contra game.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I would say so far, Super C, Contra 3 Alien Wars, Neo Contra, and Shattered Soldier I like more than it.
Okay.
Wow.
And it doesn't take away from that game at all. It is
No, for sure.
an
I guess
amazing
those
game.
are all great games. Yeah.
Before, actually, I just thought about this like right now as you guys were talking. I was like trying to figure out where I would place it, and I'm like, is it really 5th? It's such an iconic and great game. But that just speaks volumes about the series in general. Like there are so many good games.
Because you're giving it a 5, but it's 5th on your list. It's
Right?
Those are all perfect games. Yeah.
Exactly. So
That's amazing.
yeah. But yeah, I love it. It's a great game, but it's just those other games are a little bit better in my opinion. Which brings us into the next game we're going to talk about, Super C, the sequel to Contra on the NES, which for some reason it seems like not as many people knew about. Right? Like I was fortunate to grow up with it, and then I got into the retro gaming community, and all of a sudden people were like, "Oh yeah, I barely played Super C." I'm like, "How did you barely play it? It's Contra." Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it was named different, you know.
That Super C thing.
Yeah, like even as a kid, I didn't know it was the same franchise at first, because like why isn't it just Contra 2 or Super Contra, you know?
Yeah.
But we're gonna go ahead and start by reading the story straight out of the manual, because that's always fun. So don't fire until you see the red of their eyes. Sipping cold lemonade with a couple of native lovelies, Mad Dog and Scorpion, guerrilla warriors extraordinaire, relax on a Rio beach and boast of how they destroyed the vile alien warmonger Red Falcon. Little do they know that Red Falcon didn't flee with his pointed tail between his legs. Instead, he tactically retreated to round up ruffians of the universe, friends from all walks of war, to mount a second assault on planet Earth. One of these new recruits is Jaeger Freud, a demented alien from the Black Hole Galaxy who dishes out punishment with a laser-sharp tongue. Red Falcon has shuttled in the... I can't even read this. Babaloo Destructoid Mechanism, a giant alien attack tank, which was the primary weapon used to disintegrate the innocent solar system of Tralala. But the genius behind Red Falcon's Earth-conquering concept is his plan to have thousands of intergalactic warriors seep into the brains of the U.S. Army. It's a mind contamination trick which has already taken command of U.S. forces at Fort Firestorm. How do we know that our soldiers have been brain trashed? Oh, not washed. You can see it in their eyes. Now, if Mad Dog and Scorpion fail to recuperate from their months on the beach in time to destroy Red Falcon's GI fortified hate nest, his sinister scheme will permeate the world's mightiest power, nuclear missile silos included. And if that happens, we'll all be pushing up daisies.
Wow.
Mad Dog and Score.
Right? Like, where's Bill and Lance?
Yeah, that's the
Like-
code names, Ray.
Right?
Yeah.
And the hate
So-
nest.
So when were Bill and Lance actually named? Because it wasn't in the Contra manual either.
I was just looking in the original Contra. It says Bill and Lance, but then
Mhm.
underneath it says Scorpion and Mad Dog.
Okay, got
yeah,
it.
it's their like
Code
code.
names.
Right. I mean, I like that they were like sitting on the beach, sipping on
Yeah.
some drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
I just picture them with their huge machine guns.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. They're gonna have like the umbrella. And, like,
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh, yeah.
little tiki head.
yeah.
Oh, you gotta love reading old manuals. I think that's what I
Uh,
miss a lot about modern games. Is
for
you don't have
sure.
these awesome stories.
They
And
do.
I'm sure, like, none of you read the Contra manual before. How many of you read that story before?
Never.
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 No.
Yeah.
I have Super C complete in box, and I've never read that introduction.
Be
ever.
pushing up daisies, bro.
Yeah.
With the Babalu destructoid
Yeah.
mechanism.
What the heck, man?
Oh, so let's get to the gameplay. It is just like Contra, right? It plays
Yep.
the exact same. It's got great controls. You shoot with one button, you jump with the other, and you move with the D-pad. One, I think, really good improvement, which we talked about in the snowfield. You couldn't really see the bullets. Is they made the bullets actually colorful in this one and a little bit larger, so you can
Mhm.
definitely see them a lot easier, which helps.
Mhm.
But you talk about the weapons, very similar. We got the machine gun again. We got a laser. We got a flamethrower instead of the fireball. And then, of course, we got the rapid fire still, the spread, the barrier, which is invincibility, and then the mega shell, which destroys everything on the screen. So once again, I'm asking you the same thing. Favorite weapon in Super C?
Again, spread.
Again, spread, but the flamethrower
Mhm.
is probably the second one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can
Yeah,
actually
I'll-
charge it up, which Captain
right?
taught me too.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Captain taught me that. Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I kind of like people kind of knew me because of Super C, right? That was a game I played a lot and I could run through it pretty easily, and I raced the Renaissance in it. And I remember afterwards, I wanted to like see speed runs. I want to know, like, because I could beat it pretty quickly. Like, how fast do other people beat it? And I was watching a speed run, like, they're not using spread. They choose the fireball or the flamethrower because spread is actually weaker in this game.
Yeah.
It's not as powerful as it is in Contra. But I learned that you can hold the shot button down and it charges up the flamethrower and it shoots a bigger ball out and it's more powerful.
Yep.
What?
Yeah. So if you want to speed
Man.
run the game, you got to master that flamethrower.
Huh. But all the weapons I think are much more useful
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Super C
Yeah.
Right.
because
Mm.
I went through and there was a boss that I could not figure out how to kill it.
Mhm.
Actually, the spider boss. I guess he's a mini boss. I was
Mhm.
so excited when I finally beat him. And I was like, "What do you mean that's not the end?"
This-
Yeah.
But I beat him for the first time with the laser
Mm-hmm.
because you fire and it hit him multiple times as it passed
Yep.
through, and it was so
Right.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the explosion that the firebomb gets now, or the flamethrower, is nice.
What
Yeah.
a great thought they did to add that weapon to the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
good, like you said, Owaz, is everything's useful. Like they did, they killed it on that, man. They did a great job.
Opinion for sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the stages. And so right away, this is another improvement on the original Contra game is the stage names. I mean, the stage names are kind of boring for Contra, but let's hear the
Mhm.
stages for Super C. All
Yeah.
right. Stage 1, Gates of Fort Firestorm. Stage 2, Fort Firestorm's Warped Mine Command Center. Stage 3, Tropics of Torture. Stage 4, Lair of the Jungle Aliens. Stage 5, Massacre Mountains. Stage 6, Jaeger Freud's Fruit of the Doom Defense Line. Stage 7, Radioactive Lava Fields. And finally, Stage 8, Red Falcon's Poison Palace.
It's like
I
it's like
mean-
a list of bad band names. Like, what are we gonna call
Yeah,
ourselves?
for real,
Oh.
dude.
Right?
That
How
good call.
awesome
there.
are those names, though? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so much better than Base 1, Base 2,
Jungle?
Yeah.
Jungle, Waterfall.
No, for real.
Did it have those names shown when you'd go from one level to next, or was it just a stage?
No,
No.
that is straight from the manual.
Okay,
Oh,
because like
Yeah.
I was like, oh, those are
No.
interesting.
Yeah, when I was typing up the outline, like I was going through this, and like obviously Contra's like, okay, yeah, they actually say it in Contra, right? They say the stage names. I'm like, oh yeah, these make sense. And then I'm reading the Super C manual. I'm like, I have never heard these stage names in my life, but they're awesome.
They just made them up when they brought it over.
Yeah.
Next time you stream it, Cap, you got to say the names. Oh,
Dude,
going
yep.
into
Yeah.
Jaeger's Field
Yeah.
of Fruit.
Dude,
For
everyone
real.
be like, what the hell? Where did you come up with these?
Yep. Jaeger Freud's Fruit of the Doom Defense.
Like,
Line.
jeez, man.
And then, but after you say that, you're gonna have to pause and be like, all right, I got to catch my breath now before I actually start.
Yeah,
doing it.
exactly.
Say that 3 times, you know.
All right, guys. So same as Contra. Favorite stage, least favorite stage.
Well, my least favorite's the Jaeger Fields of Fruit and and it's probably because of the fruit and doom.
Oh my god.
No, I don't. I never was a fan in Super C of the walking
Oh, those top down ones.
vertical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I've never
Okay.
was a fan of those. And then that one, they threw the stupid mouths that come
Oh
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And those always get me. That makes it hard for me for some reason.
Yeah.
Those stupid mouths.
I
Yeah.
love that,
So
though.
I hate every time I gotta play that level. I just
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Well, you talk
I
about
hate it.
Snowfield being the no death run killer of Contra.
Yep.
Stage
Yeah.
6. I'm sorry, not stage 6.
No.
Uh,
Jaeger's Freud's
Jaeger
Fruit of the-
Freud's Fruit of the Doom defense line.
Yeah,
Is the
God.
no death run killer because of those mouths.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
so random and you get
Yeah.
screwed.
Dude,
Yeah.
and the part that the things come at you.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, yes.
rough.
But hey, here's a tip though. There's a power up there that will destroy everything on screen. Do not
Don't
get
get
it.
it.
Because then they all come at you at once.
Oh,
Makes it a whole lot harder.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you just.
Yep.
I
Otherwise, you
learned,
dodge
that
it.
I learned that the hard way.
Yep.
But I'll
just
go with
learned
my favorite level is that one. That's my favorite level though.
Oh,
because
wow.
Dan
I
likes
like-
the Fruit of the Doom.
man.
Yeah.
That's a key level. And let's not forget when the boss comes out and everything.
Oh, that's so cool.
the boss is
I love it.
cool.
yeah, I
yes,
love
yeah,
it, man.
yeah.
I know what you mean, 8-bit glitch. It's kind of like annoying. It can be kind of cheap,
Mhm.
but man, I kind of like that level just because of the graphics. I love
Yeah.
like Akari Warriors. Why didn't they make a game just like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, we were saying this when we were talking about Contra. Why didn't you just do it like Contra?
Exactly. Well, they wanted to be different, and then you
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
up being differently bad.
Yeah.
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 As
You
for
guys
my
don't
worst,
for effort.
as for my worst level, that's really tough, man. I don't even really know what to say other than I guess the last. Oh, I like how the ceiling falls though. I really don't know. I'll have to wait. I'll chime in again later when you guys are talking, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm
Well,
actually
my
struggling.
favorite is the one after it, the radioactive lava fields,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because it's got the face hugger eggs appear.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got that cool thing where you have to destroy the
Destroy that.
ground
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
through.
The
And that
eggs,
was new and different to the Contra,
Yep.
so that I liked. And then the boss on that one reminds me of Stage 3,
yeah.
the first game.
Okay, yep.
Because you got
Yeah.
the skull on the top. It's kind of like the similar kind of a
Yep.
layout, if you will.
Mhm.
So it kind of reminds me of that. So that's probably why that's probably my favorite. It's kind of got that alien level theme feel
Mhm.
to it, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I that's my favorite level as well. Just you get there and like, what am I supposed to do here? And you start shooting it, and it's like, oh, it starts breaking, so you start digging down. Like, oh no, I need to shoot over here so I can actually fall down.
Mhm.
I guess it's supposed to be like it's
Pretty
throat
cool.
or something.
Yeah.
You finally make it down, and you like, start seeing all these little aliens popping out. And I don't know what I did. I think I glitched one of them because I had the flame gun at the time, and I was sitting there shooting it down from higher up, and it
Mhm.
just stayed there. And I kept shooting it. I kept trying to jump over and shoot, and it's like, what's going
Right,
on?
but it's gone.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was gone.
Yep.
And so I probably jumped down and just kept going. And then the most annoying is the top down levels. I did not like those. So level
No, you didn't
two,
like them either. Oh,
Interesting.
okay.
level two, just it was annoying because like there was times like, all right, I got the spread, I'm good. I'm just gonna run, and I'd still get hit by guys that
Mhm.
are positioned on both sides.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is going? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do right here to make sure I don't get hit if they shoot. Obviously, if you
Sure.
kill them, you don't have to worry about it. But if
Mhm.
you don't kill them in time, it's like if your shot is out of time with when they appear on the screen, you could get hosed.
You basically just feel like you're screwed.
I think, I think what I don't like about them is because with the side scrolling and like the waterfall type levels, vertical, you can jump. You got this flexibility of getting it. And those you're just like, oh God.
That's true.
Oh God.
That's true.
You know, you're just kind of like
Yeah.
stiff. You can't jump. You gotta
you
God,
can't
you just
jump.
gotta run. You just,
If you could
don't run
strafe,
fast.
if you could strafe, those levels would be, I think, a lot better because you can hold down.
I understand.
It kind of slows the game down a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the level where you're like on an elevator and it's going up and you these all these enemies coming after you?
That is, how was it, stage 4?
Yeah,
I think it's the layer of the jungle aliens.
Yeah, that ended up being my least favorite just because there's certain parts where it's like, how do you even like get through this without getting hit like once?
Yeah.
It's so funny hearing you guys say that.
Those bubbles too. I mean, those bubbles
Yeah.
as you're going up in the elevator, like they suck. I remember we did way back when I was doing the weekly retro challenge, we did Super C a pea shooter run, like a no death run. I think it was no death run, pea shooter, right? And I remember getting in stage 4. I'm like, God, these bubbles suck. How can I get past them? And it's like, at least they come from the same spot every time, so you can kind of memorize them. But they can definitely like fuck you up.
Yeah. Another part that was hard about that pea shooter no death run was what you guys are talking about with the eggs going down when the face huggers come out. That was incredibly hard with only a pea shooter because you had to almost dodge them and then keep shooting.
I would say my favorite stage has to be Gates of Fort Firestorm, the first stage, and kind of similar to what Sean was talking about. The jungle from Contra is his favorite because it's just iconic to me.
Yeah.
I think for anyone that knows me, they know Super C is my favorite NES game of all time. And we grew up with both of them, but there's something iconic about like when you're rappelling from the helicopter, you got like that purple and pink sky, there's lightning and thunder, and like that music kicks in. I'm like, this is just badass.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely one of those stages too, where you're like, say you just got done, like your Owazrim, right? And you're starting Super C, you go, yup, this is part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2, I'm playing Contra, man.
Yeah.
You know, you just know you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You know
So as iconic as the jungle level is in Contra, to me, this is even more iconic. It's just it's what I played so much as a kid. And even though it's the first stage, it's super awesome. As for least favorite, I'm kind of like Dan. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I love this game, so I don't know if I have a least favorite. I do like the top-down stages.
Me too.
God,
the first one is kinda, but I like the big tanks and stuff that you fight.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I don't think I could pick a least favorite. I just can't. I like every stage.
I guess to me, if I had to, but I kind of there's neither game do I hate a stage, but because I love both games so much. But I guess when you're on the elevator going up, like J Chip was saying, it can get a little like, you know, you're waiting for it to go up, like you know, you're kind of like, let's go. You know, I guess that's kind of annoying, even though I like the big laser shower that comes out at you. You know, because that usually messes people up really bad. And I like that boss because I think he's tough. You know, but I don't hate anything.
That shower boss,
like
the first couple times, it really messed me up, and then I figured out. Oh, I can, you know, if I can clear out a spot in the middle, it won't
just follow it.
Yeah, it won't go over back and forth. I was like, oh, okay. So that's the strategy for that level.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear that because we have different strategies because we played for so long.
Yeah.
But to hear your strategy the first time you beat it, that's really cool to hear. I got to go back and watch those streams.
For sure. So yeah, let's talk about our favorite and least favorite bosses right now. I would say the stage 6. I got to look at the name. I can't remember what it is. Is that Jaeger Freud's? Yeah, Jaeger Freud's Fruit of the Doom defense line, right? So you make it through the mouths and those aliens coming off the sides at you, and all of a sudden you get to like this empty shell, right? And these like heads just appear, right? And you destroy that, and then all of a sudden a larger head shows up, and right, you got that like snake thing like circling you and stuff, and I think it's the coolest looking boss. It's not difficult at all,
right?
But it's just a super badass looking boss.
Yeah, I would say I'm gonna go with because I like the difficulty of it. I like the laser shower.
Mhm.
That's what I like. I feel like that when you got to be ready to go because otherwise you're dead.
Mhm.
But my least favorite is easily the last boss because I just think it was like they could have done better than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like,
That's
it was kind of lame to me.
Right. Well, I think it kind of matches the first Contra game.
It
boss,
does.
right? That
It
heart's
does.
not an amazing final boss.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not.
it's not even attacking you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's the little baddies around him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because the final boss of Super C is my favorite boss.
Oh wow.
Just because I think like the spectacle of it, just seeing this thing coming out of the ground, it's like, okay, I know this is it. This is gonna be it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna get done with this game, and when you're done with it for the first time, it's like a huge sigh of relief. Like finally, I just got this done.
Yeah.
So for me, like that's my favorite. I also really like the gate boss that you were talking about, Cap, in stage 3. I think for an NES game, I'll say this: like it's pretty atmospheric with its art style. Like they got some pretty creepy looking monsters.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was just thinking, is it a Konami thing? Because like I don't know. Like is that what they do with all their final bosses? Like they don't even attack. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
it
because
just
that
seems
seems
weird. Like
Gradius.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
great.
like-
Too.
I guess
You
you're right.
beat the game.
The challenge in Konami games are like getting to the final boss, right? And then they're
Yeah.
like, here's your reward. It's a super easy final boss. You did it. Nice job.
Push over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say my least favorite is probably stage 3. That's like that big wall that just like shows up and appears, and it's like
Yeah.
right. There's those like
Yeah.
those circles that like go in and out and
Yeah.
like rotate, and then you just have to destroy that center thing. It's like it's not the most interesting boss.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably my least favorite, and then my favorite is just the one that reminds me of level 3, like I mentioned, in the lava, fields, whatever you call it.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got to look it up. I got to get the name right.
Radioactive lava fields.
Okay, I want everyone to have these names memorized. And anytime you talk about Super C, you can use the actual names.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So my favorite would probably be the stage 6 boss because you finally get one. It's like, oh, there's more.
Mhm.
Even though it wasn't that difficult, it was like, all right, there's more. Here's something else.
Yep.
And then the least was Area 5, that little UFO thing.
Okay, yeah.
Just
Yeah, it can be tough.
shooting the heads out,
Mm-hmm.
and like even with the spread, like I was like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be hitting this
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there trying to kill those things and then kill the brown things that it sent out. And eventually it's like, oh, okay, well, I can shoot that and I can shoot that. So I can stay alive long enough. I can at least do enough damage to wherever it is I'm supposed to hit it and
Right.
kill it.
Well, those of you in the audience who are listening to this right now, I know you're probably confused because Owazrim said stage 6 and stage 5, right? You guys know the real names. Stage 6 is Jagger Freud's Fruit of the Doom defense line. Stage 5 is Massacre Mountains. Okay.
As Cap reads that from the screen, not off
Hey,
not
no,
memorized.
you have no proof. I have them memorized because I love this game. And I didn't just learn about them 2 days ago when I made the outline.
It's all about the Fruit of the Doom.
Fruit of the Doom.
All right, so let's go into the music, right? Again, Contra's iconic, Super C's iconic. It's great music. Do you have a favorite stage theme from Super C?
The last boss, the final boss. And what's sad about it is, you know, if you're really good at it, you barely hear it
Mhm.
because you beat him so quick.
Right.
So do yourself a favor and Google the last boss theme of Super C because the thing is banging. It's so metal and it's so hype. It's how it builds up that you don't even hear the best part. Like if you beat him so fast, the best part of the song is lost.
I would say I don't really have a stage theme that's my favorite. I like the boss theme.
boss
time a
music
boss
for the
comes
first
Mhm.
first boss, I really liked. I'd say that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If someone out there can do like a metal cover of like Super C, the entire soundtrack, I like to listen to that.
Yeah,
I'm sure
Vomitron did the first Contra.
Okay.
And awesome. All those stages was one song. Really good metal. I don't think I have all his albums, and he hasn't done Super C, so he's here in Mass, so I might have to
There you go.
talk to him and see.
He's got to do it.
He's got to do that one.
I don't think you can go wrong with any of the themes in this game. Again, it's a fantastic soundtrack. But once again, for me, it's all about that first stage. So iconic. Like I said, dropping out of that helicopter, the thunder hitting, and just that music just going, and it just gets you pumped up. And I've played that game so many times. Like that first stage theme is just plays like on a loop in my head. Like I love it.
That's like for me for the first game, the first level. It's like that's Contra. Like you play like da 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 is Mario.
Right.
That first stage of Contra 1 is Contra
for sure.
Like it's the theme to me.
Yeah. Well, before we get into our overall thoughts on Super C, is there anything else you guys want to bring up to talk about?
I will say the moment in this game that got me like, oh my god, was the ceiling coming down on the last level.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. Oh my god, like what's going on? Like, the first time I experienced that.
Right.
I was like, whoa, yeah.
Did you know you can
me out.
Yeah, did you know you can kind of like ride the ceiling?
I
like
didn't
when
know
it drops
that
down?
later. I think I saw you do it once.
Yeah, you can jump and you'll like keep you'll like just ride along the ceiling. So it's not like you jump and hit it and fall.
Well, it's because you're Mad Dog, dude.
Or Scorpion.
Other than that, I know another cool part of the game where it's kind of tough and you're not used to is when the floor starts falling out of that earthquake.
Yep.
You know, that was always kind of tough to make it trigger.
Right.
As kids, you didn't know that, right? You're just jumping and you're going, oh my God. You start riding down, you're dead, you know?
Right. And then you learn then I learned a trick a couple years ago. You can like after you kill that spider boss, you can get right at the edge of the screen and then start running. So all the pitfalls are behind you. So you don't have to
I copy you on that.
Yeah. Owazrim's like, what the hell?
I use that strat now.
That got me so many times. There's like, I know there's one here and it falls. I know there's one here and it falls. There's one here, you know, and they would still get me.
Yeah.
And then you can't time the jump right when it's dropping.
Yep.
You're just like,
right. You can get caught and you're like, come on, jump. And you don't do it.
I would say one thing that was cool was with the last boss for me was I was like, ran through it, got it with the spread. I was like, okay, that's cool. Let me see if I can do it with use the same trick and get it with the base pew. Did that. Ran back through and actually got killed by the boss before he actually fully appeared on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
But can't touch him when he's coming out of the ground.
Yeah. And then I went and I did it with the fireball, and I was like, oh my gosh, the flamethrower was just so sweet with the final boss.
Now, how many of you jump on top of the final boss after you defeat him?
I do now, thanks to you.
It's like, my son have to do it.
I always call it the Captain Algebra tea bag.
That's right. Yep, you jump up there because it's so funny. Like, because the boss is gone, but you're just up there standing on thin air. And I just do the tea bag.
If I can remember, I will next time.
Dude, it's hilarious. I do it every time now. Ever since I saw someone do it, I'm like, I have to do it. All right, before we get into our overall thoughts, though, I did want to ask, and some of you kind of have talked about this, what do you like better, the base levels in Contra or the top-down levels in Super C? Because those are kind of like the change of pace levels.
Yeah,
I like the top-down.
I like the bases, and I think the bases actually have good music, too, in the
they do.
Contra.
Yeah.
But base levels, I thought, were really fun. It was a nice change of pace. And Especially once I learned, don't keep pushing up and you hit the force field. As long as you don't push up, you don't hit it.
But at least you're not like me, who thought the force field killed you after 3 hits. Well, as a kid, I always thought, I was like, yeah, you died if you hit that force field 3 times. No, I was just getting shot.
It's kind of tough for me because I mentioned how that was my least favorite part of Super C is those. But I will say, if you're going to compare those two, there's more to the Super C top-down ones than there is the base ones. So I'll have to give it to the Super C top-down.
Yeah, the base levels are fun, but they're kind of basic. So I feel like there's a bit more going on with the top-down levels.
Yeah, and I got to go top-down. I feel like the base levels are it's too much stopping, right? You got to stop at every screen and destroy the thing on the wall before you can move forward. Whereas the top-down, you just keep moving. And I especially love in Stage 2, which... just so you guys remember, that is Fort Firestorm's Warped Mind Command Center. All right, those of you that don't know, there's a part about 3/4 of the way through where if you line yourself right in the center of the screen, and you have the spread, and you just run straight forward and never stop, you'll make it all the way to the wall right before the boss, and nothing will hit you.
Yeah,
like you can make it, and even like the spread helps because it destroys things, but I think you can do it without the spread. But it's just super fun. You just run straight and destroy the entire level.
Owazrim's over there.
Yeah,
I was sitting there thinking, I was like, that's a spot I couldn't find because times I could run up through there. Like I would, even with the base weapon, I would run up through there. I'd be able to get to the wall and destroy it and get to the boss. And there's times I'd have the spread, and I thought I could have sworn I was doing the exact same thing. Yeah, and I would die. And I'm like, what's going on?
No, there's because the floor is like tiled, so you line yourself right on the line, right in the middle of the stage, and make sure there's no enemies around you, and then you start going, and you just keep walking, never stop, and you won't die.
Yeah, I will say for the base levels though, to give them some credit, I do appreciate what they were trying to do. I think that effect back then, especially when that was made, is super neat. Super neat that you're running into this base, and the whole point is I got to blow up the core of what's in this base, right? Because it's trying to copy what was going on in the arcade version. In the arcade version, you had that little map up there, and it shows where you're going through the base and you're trying to blow it up. So I can appreciate that, but yes, I like the top-down levels better.
Yeah, exactly. There's no wrong answer there, right? I mean, they're both very cool levels that change a pace. I was kind of curious just what everyone liked.
Yeah.
So let's go into our overall thoughts. And so, again, the same thing. We're going to talk about those same 3 questions I asked you about Contra. So first one, would you play Super C again?
Any chance I get, but not as much as the first.
Yeah. I kind of do it 50. Well, that's not true. I probably do it about 60-40 with Contra being the 160 and then 40 being Super C. But I pop them both in. I'm still trying to get it for my play choice.
I'd play it again. I'd play the first one more, but I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to getting good enough where I could beat the first one and the second one in a sitting.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun. It'd be fun. It'd be a fun goal to have one of these days.
Right.
But then there's also, do I not play it again for 5 years and then almost get to play it again for the first time?
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like it would be one of those situations where it's like, okay, I'm done with Contra. Now I got to immediately put in Super C. So it would be kind of that situation for me.
And obviously, you guys know I play this game all the time. I mean, multiple times a month, sometimes like multiple times a day. This is my go-to when I have 20 minutes of free time and I want a game and I don't know what to play. Boom, pop in Super C. I mean, when I got the Contra collection on PS4, it's like that is the first game I played. Like, hey, I'm gonna run through Super C. Like, it's my favorite NES game, and I play it all the time. Yeah. All right, guys, rate this game scale of 1 to 5.
5.
5.
Hands down.
A 9.
Oh,
yeah. I would say it's a 4, 4.5 for me. The first one being obviously the 5. So
okay, so I'm curious, what makes it lesser to you than Contra?
I think it's just my nostalgia and my love. I think it's just I enjoy the first one more than I do this when I'm playing it than I do this Super C. Not that I don't like playing Super C, but it just like seeing the title screen of the first game immediately a smile on my face.
For sure.
Like I'm taken back. Like
Now
that's
they
just
can
what makes
both.
me feel better.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Now they can both be 5s, but you prefer Contra 1 because that's where
Yeah.
I'm at. So what
Yeah.
what makes it a 4.5? What knocks it down? What hurts it?
I think it's because it's more of a challenge for me than the first
Okay.
one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Fair
so,
enough.
I think I'd put it, I guess, at the 4.5, the same as the original one.
Mhm.
Just mainly because of like I said, for whatever reason, there's a flow problem with me, which could change as I play it more
Mhm.
and get more used to it. And maybe that's just what it is. It's just like Contra just had this progression and it felt like, I was making progress, and there was something with Super C that just wasn't there. And it might be because I'd just played Contra, and going straight to Super C, I didn't have that. Like some of the novelty had worn off or something. I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
I already said it's my favorite game, right? It's a 5, perfect. I think it improved in all the right ways over Contra, right? You've got the better bullets that you can see from enemies, so it's not harder. I mean, the music's just as good, the gameplay's just as good. Again, it's unless you nitpick, there's no, like, to me, there's nothing wrong with the game.
Right.
Like, it is a perfect game, just like Contra. So it's got to be a 5 for me. I will say one of the things I dislike about it, though, is Sean, you mentioned the intro. There's music on the intro of Contra. Super C is silent.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
super
always
boring.
miss that. Yep. It's like,
Yeah.
God, I want that Contra theme at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like, why can't they do that? That's so badass. It's so iconic.
That's true. Why didn't they do that?
Right? Ugh.
Got a little lazy on that.
All right.
That must be it. That must throw off the entire flow for me.
There it is. Yep. Nothing at the beginning.
You like reset your game. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
All right. Last one. Where does this rank compared to other Contra games?
2.
So I have it at 2 as well. And the reason that it is that way is, for one, NES is my favorite console, but I just, I love everything you're reading about it, right? And that's why these are 1 and 2. I love the names of the levels. I love how hardcore the story is. I love how short the games are and how yet there's still a challenge. I love how you can have time to play them. You know, if you only have 20 minutes, that's plenty of time to play. I love playing 2-player on both these games with people. I did with Captain Algebra. We did double no death runs with both of them. Super, just fun. Out of any Contra game, more than memorizing stuff like in Shattered Soldier or Neo Contra and things like that, or Alien Wars even, there wasn't a lot of memorizing really anything. It's more, I feel like this is the game where you can get out of anything. And all the skill is just going to carry you if you want it to. You can use any gun you want. You can really get through it without dying with anything. You know, it's all you. And so that's what I love about these 2 games. So that's why they're 1 and 2. And they're some of 2 of my favorite games of all time. I mean, for sure. Hands down.
I'll throw it in there at 2 just because Contra was 1 and Super C is 2, and that's about all I got.
Yeah.
We'll see as I play more of them.
Yeah.
Play Operation C, Owazrim.
No, the game's fantastic.
For me, it's also a 2. Just for me personally, I like the PS2 more. So like Neo Contra is a bit more appealing to me. But in terms of like NES Contra, I think Super C is the best one. Not just in Contra, but like there is kind of a night and day difference in terms of like graphics, music, and just the tone of like going from Contra to Super C. In my opinion, I think Super C just improves on what made Contra great in the first place.
It really does.
And I mean, I have not been shy about my feelings about Super C. It is number 1, easily my favorite Contra game. Which brings me up to, before we talk about like similar games to this, I want to talk to, I did do a poll for the Cartridge Club. What's your favorite out of OG Contra and Super C? And we did a poll on the Cartridge Club, and there were 3 options: Contra, Super C, and I can't decide. And so 25 people voted, and the winner at 52% was Contra. And
yeah,
Yes!
not that Sean was keeping track,
right? Yeah. which hurts a little bit, but again, you cannot go wrong with either of these games, right?
No.
They are both fantastic. But I do wonder, why do you think Contra is considered the better game by a lot of people. When like even Mega Dan, Contra's your favorite out of the two, but you still say you think Super C is the better game.
It really is.
So why do more people tend to like Contra more than Super C?
Classic and nostalgic.
Yeah.
That's the one they
Yeah.
had. That's the one that started it all, so they give that the credit.
I feel like I would say like the original Contra seems a bit more iconic than Super C.
Yeah.
Like when someone brings up NES, I feel like the original Contra is the first thing that comes up in people's minds.
I mean, listen to what you just said at the beginning, Captain. You said a lot of people didn't even know what it was because of that. Because of that.
And it's so weird because I was fortunate to have both, right? So as I got into the retro game community, I was like, people don't know about Super C?
Right.
How have you not played the sequel to Contra? And so I do think nostalgia is a huge part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's why Super C is my favorite game. I was able to grow up with both. I played both, but I played Super C more, which is why I like it more.
Yeah.
It doesn't take anything away from Contra. It's an amazing game.
Sure.
And what's weird is I think Contra is a lot harder than Super C. Like I fly through Super C.
See, that's interesting.
But I feel like most people think Super C is harder.
I do.
Yeah.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah.
Owazrim, which one's harder?
Super C.
Yeah.
So it's got to be just I've played it so many times.
Yeah.
That
Well,
it's
and,
just-
you know, yeah. And what a lot of what you were saying is just so true though, that it is to me, it's like it is the better game. But it's for some reason it's exactly like that for me. For some reason, I pick up Contra, and that's the one I like.
Yeah.
But that's the one I played and stuff. But I had Super C too, but we played Contra more. But I can't really explain to you why it is. It's just nostalgic. That's why it wins with me.
Right.
But the better game, honestly, because of the base levels and the top down. I like the top down better, man.
Yeah.
The graphics, like J-Chip said, they're a little bit better. Everything's a little bit more crisp in Super C, man. The bosses are honestly better. The levels are almost more creative, right? I don't know, but Contra is the one I really go to.
I think nostalgia is a powerful force, right?
It is.
You can't take away your nostalgia for something.
Right.
It's impossible to throw that out and be objective without nostalgia.
Sure.
And I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
We all love Contra and Super C. They're great run and guns. What are other similar style games other than Contra franchise that you would recommend?
One that I played not too long ago, and I actually NDR'd and everything, was Super Cyborg. That game was rad. If you like Super C, you gotta play Super Cyborg, dude. It is literally ripping off in a good way. I say that in a positive way. Ripping off Super C. It's amazing, dude. Amazing.
Yeah, that was on my list. Bite the Bullet. I don't know if anyone's tried that or checked that one out.
Never heard of that one.
It's a run and gun with a kind of a weird twist where it's the future. Not to use up a lot of time and go into detail, but it's the future and food is a rare resource. So they developed something to implant to people that you can eat pretty much anything to survive. So you can eat the enemies you shoot.
Oh, wow.
And based on what you eat and who you eat, you can upgrade your body to become more bigger so you can take more bullets. Or you can eat like metal things to upgrade your guns and stuff. So you can upgrade your body based on your playing style in a sense. And I haven't beaten that one yet because it's kind of tough, but it's a really fun play on a run and gun with almost like this RPG kind of.
What's it on, Sean?
Switch, PS4, I think. I don't think it's on. I'm not sure if it's on Xbox.
And what's that called one more time?
Bite the Bullet.
Okay.
Yeah, check that one out. It's pretty fun. Yeah, and then another one I'll just throw out there is kind of like is the Hunt Down.
Okay.
Yeah,
I played a little bit of that one.
Dude, Hunt Down is rad
and hilarious. The writing in
that's a good game
is great. So I recommend that one.
Look for this new game coming out by Retroware Games. It's coming out anytime now. Is a game called Prison City.
Yes.
Man.
I've had that on my radar for 2 years.
Dude, that looks like it's going to be really good. If it looks Contra all the way.
It's
Contra
coming to
like
Switch.
Power Blade.
Yeah. It's coming to Steam first, but they just announced it will be on Switch.
Man, that's going to be good, dude.
Yeah, so.
How about Blazing Chrome?
Yep. I was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
when Contra Rogue Core came out, I know Megadan, you know my thoughts on Contra Rogue
Yeah.
Core.
Yeah.
That's not a Contra game to me. I hate that.
Yeah.
Then I played. I mean,
Yeah.
so I haven't played that a lot. But then Blazing Chrome came out. Like that should have been the next Contra game.
Sure.
That is
Yeah.
so much like Contra 3 Alien Wars. Like it is
Yeah.
an amazing
Dude,
game.
Blazing Chrome's rad. Yeah.
Mhm.
Would you guys consider like Metal Slug to be a good
Oh, yeah.
comparison?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
a great
Me-
series.
I think Metal Slug is pretty fun.
Yeah, cartoon Contra is what I call that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Midnight Resistance.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Midnight Resistance is
That's on
pretty
the
good.
Genesis, isn't it?
Genesis.
Yeah.
Yep. I played that. Yeah, it was pretty
Nice.
good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome.
The
And-
Turrican series.
Yep.
On
Okay.
that's been on so many different consoles, and they just came out with like the collection on the Switch.
Mhm.
Yeah. all of them.
Yep.
So those are good. I would
Right.
recommend.
Yeah. So there's no shortage of run and gun games for you. If you like Contra and Super C, there's plenty
Yeah.
to go out there and play. And I love how a lot of these are on the modern consoles that you can play,
Yeah.
right? Even
Yeah.
if it's not physical, there's digital versions of all these.
Yep.
And so there's a ton of good games to play if you like these style of games. But that is going to do it for the Contra and Super C episode of the Cartridge Club. So before we give everyone to give their plugs, I want to talk about the upcoming games. So the last game of Season 10 for August is Ape Escape. And then we are starting Season 11 in September with Twisted Metal Black, which is a very cool Twisted Metal game. And then October will be Alien Isolation.
Damn.
Speaking of Twisted Metal Black, anybody watched the Twisted Metal series yet?
No, not yet.
I got three. I got 3 episodes left. It's fun. I
I heard
recommend
good
it.
things.
I only saw
Yeah.
the first episode, and they want me to upgrade to Peacock Plus.
Mhm.
So I got to do that before I can continue watching the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I need to get Peacock so I can watch that.
Yeah, it's fun.
So yeah, super excited about those games coming up. So again, if you'd like to get involved with the club, I'd encourage you to follow us on Twitter at Cartridge Club NA. You can also visit our Discord for all kinds of discussion about past, present, and future games of the month. To those of you interested in supporting the club beyond a review on the podcast app of your choice, I'd like to mention that the club is entirely funded by pledges made from members of our community. We are extremely grateful to those supporters, and if you're interested in becoming one of them, please look into how you can do that at patreon.com/Cartridge Club. So before we say our goodbyes, I just want to give you a chance to all give your plugs, where we can find you on the internet and stuff. So we'll go ahead and start with J-Chip.
You can follow me on YouTube at JChip Show. I do anime and gaming reviews. That's about it. Twitter by the same name, I guess, if you want to follow me there.
Oh, you mean X?
Yeah,
Yeah.
X.
yeah.
Twitter X, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch or X. I've got a Discord as well. Just look for Owazrim, Google, Bing, whatever Owazrim, and something should pop up.
YouTube, of course, as a Big Lit 79. Pretty much all the other socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, same name. And yeah,
I am on Twitter and Instagram as the Megadan29, and I am on YouTube primarily under Megadan29, and I stream retro games and sometimes put out topic videos, like discussion videos and stuff like that. Come check it out.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you guys all for joining. It was a really fun discussion. You guys have been awesome.
Thanks for having me, man.
yeah, thanks. It's
It was,
great.
it was a blast.
All right.
It's a lot
Well,
of pew pew.
yeah, a lot of you. And there's going to be a quiz. Make sure you guys all know the
On
stage
the
names
stages.
of Super C. All right.
There's
well,
only one. Fruit of the Doom.
yeah, Fruit of the
The
Doom.
Doom.
Jager Freud. Well, to
Yeah.
everyone listening, we look forward to hearing from you, all of you soon. Thank you for joining us. CC Unite.